Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I'd just chill out in my backyard and talk to you guys about my backyard garden slash tiny homestead and just go through a few of the, fails or disappointments, things I could have done better, things I'm actually happy with, and my plans for spring of 2024. So this is my second year gardening in our backyard. Last year I was super pregnant and our garden actually turned out pretty good. I had a lot of tomatoes, we had a good amount of squash. Our zucchini plant was producing in mass and it was doing fairly, for the most part the garden was doing really well. But one of the things that I didn't do in 2022 is I wasn't able to start my seeds indoors. So this year I did start my seeds indoors about 6 to 8 weeks before our last frost date. All of my seedlings took off. They were all doing incredibly well, but when it came time to transplant them, we're just gonna have to deal with that. That's where I messed up. I decided not to amend my raised beds. That was mistake number one. I should have known that was gonna be a huge mistake. Kind of how filming outside when you have a rooster is a huge mistake, but I'm just gonna deal with it because I can't go inside right now. And for the most part I thought that the soil would be okay because it did seem like it was still nutrient rich. There were things growing in the beds that were doing just fine, but I dropped the ball when it came to amending my beds, adding fresh compost and all of those things. So I just planted everything, all of my seedlings in. After that, I'm assuming this is all just a snowball effect of not amending the beds. / we have 10 backyard chickens that had been put outside around the same time. I think it was a combination of the seedlings not having enough nutrients in the soil and also the chickens coming and scratching at them / eating them and effectively killing most of what I had started. So I decided after that to try and direct seed a lot of things. So I did carrots, beets, some beans, onions, garlic that we planted last year came up and it was doing great. I started maybe 18 tomato plants. All but 2 died, and they're actually right behind me. And the 2 that I had just weren't growing. They were in the ground for months and they were not growing at all. So I pulled them, put them in pots with fresh soil, and they just shot up. And at this point right now, as I'm filming this video, I've got one plant with a full-size tomato that I'm just waiting to turn red, and another plant that's got some small tomatoes on it. Another thing that I planted in abundance were pepper plants, hot peppers. I did Fresnos, I did chocolate habaneros, and then I started a bunch of other pepper plants after that. And the same thing happened. When I put them in the ground, they just disappeared. So I'm assuming that Hannibal and his flock of ladies decided to eat them. I had a raised bed that I did for herbs last year that I did for herbs this year. That soil is actually really good. Everything in there is growing. But I made the mistake of trying to plant some edible flowers without knowing what these flowers look like at full size. And they're borage, I believe, B-O-R-A-G-E. It's a very small, delicate blue flower on a very big plant. I did 6 seeds in this, thinking that they were going to be a small vining plant. I should have Googled. I really should have looked that up because I'm looking at it right now, and as it started to grow, I saw how big the leaves were, and I plucked out all but 2 of them. And there's one that is gigantic. It's spilling over the edge of the bed, and I'm 100% confident that my parsley is not growing because this flowering plant is taking all the nutrients. But I don't have the heart to pull it out because the bees love it and the butterflies love it. So it's gonna stay and I'm just gonna deal with it. One of the projects that I tried to do for this year was the Three Sisters planting. So you plant corn and then you plant beans and the beans grow up the corn and then you have squash growing along the ground. They exist in harmony together and everything works out. I attempted to do that. It did not work. My corn just didn't grow. On a brighter note though, we did start chickens this year. We started out with what we thought were 10 chickens, one being a very feisty hen, which turned out to be 9 chickens and a extremely disrespectful rooster. And that's who you hear making all the noise. His name is Hannibal. And then we've got our 9 ladies. So they free range in our backyard. I hope you guys can hear the sounds. It's nice to listen to when you're not trying to record. I've been seeing a lot of videos at this point of the year of people saying, preparing my fall garden, getting the fall garden ready, putting to bed my summer garden and what I'm planting for fall. I'm not planting anything for fall. If anything, I'm planning for next spring. Because of how poorly things went this summer, although a lot of things did turn out pretty good. So I'm planning what I'm going to do for next year. My first thing is I will make sure that I have the money set aside already to get compost to amend my beds. And one of the ways I'm going to do this, or the way that I plan to do this, is through Facebook Marketplace. I was looking at it all year, and there's a bunch of people, I guess, in my area that will sell compost by the cubic yard, and it'll be like, I don't know, whatever amount, like $15 a cubic yard, and then maybe a $50 delivery fee. And some places will be like, oh, it's just $200, you get 5 cubic yards, and they deliver it. Or it'll be like 120 something for however many amount of cubic yards. You get the point. And it's something that I wanted to do. But I didn't realize that was an option until after I had planted everything in my raised beds. So to try and amend them after they had already been planted just wouldn't have worked. I just would have ended up disturbing all of my seeds and effectively killing what few things I did have growing. But that is at the top of my list for next year. Another thing that we did last year that we're undoing this year to replace is in between the beds we did these little walkways with mulch, and the mulch worked out nice. It looks really nice, you know, it's a nice divide, it adds color because it's like the red mulch. Having chickens, that just doesn't work because they like to scratch. So what they've done this summer is gone in between the raised beds up to the mulch, and then they just scratch and they forage and they look for bugs and worms and all those types of things. It's just natural for them to do. It's made keeping the mulch neat incredibly hard. So I'm going to be moving that. I've already moved a good portion of it to our front yard because we did a little bit of landscaping in the front. Bought some new plants there, which is really nice because that's something that we have been planning to do for a long time. Hopefully, please, dear Lord, let those plants grow and flower. They will be so beautiful next year. They're rhododendrons. They will be pink, and we've got some white ones with little pink accents. So I'm very excited about that. And that I did plant correctly because we did buy compost, and I was very careful with the roots. You know, planted everything back, mulched it out to keep the moisture in. I'm watering them, taking care of them, so that if we can get them to survive over winter, that'll be another project in itself. I'll update you guys on that later if you actually care. But we need to move the rest of the mulch and get it out of there because it's messy, it's junky, and it doesn't look good. Some things that I did do this year that I am happy with is that I got some secondhand raised beds off of Facebook Marketplace. They do not look the fanciest. They're definitely worn in. They work. So it's nice to have. And I think they were, I don't know, for what I got, it's maybe $15. Which again, Facebook Marketplace, amazing. And if you're trying to start a backyard garden and you have a limited amount of money, I would say get on Facebook Marketplace. It's literally the only reason why I have Facebook. All of my raised beds, except for the herb bed, all came from Facebook Marketplace. You can get all of the materials and tools that you need for your garden in a very affordable way by shopping on Facebook Marketplace, or at least I can for my area. So it didn't turn out the way that I wanted to this year. It's not a total fail. We are just starting. This is only my second year. I'm going to give myself grace, but I am going to be honest and truthful with myself and say I dropped the ball. But I will continue to expand. I will continue to keep you guys updated. If I make any changes before winter hits, then I will update you guys. Hope this video wasn't a total downer. Sorry if it was. Actually, no, I'm not sorry. It's just the way it is. It's reality. It sucks sometimes. But, you know, didn't want to be a downer. If I was, my bad. I hope you guys are doing great. I hope your gardens are doing great. Thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in. If you have any tips on gardening, I would be glad to hear them. Feel free to comment them down below. Hannibal, anything you want to say? Goodbye, everyone.